really, what are the most important things for leaders to keep in mind at a time like this during COVID?
First, Dave, thank you for inviting me. And by way of a very brief background, I am an executive coach, and I work with leaders, top business schools, and companies around the world. Really, I get executives and leaders to rethink their assumptions about power and authenticity to become more effective at work and leadership. Prior to becoming, a professional coach, trainer, educator, I served 20 years in senior roles with multinationals, China, Silicon Valley, and Europe. But now I am focused on executive coaching, and I work with leaders around the world. Mm-hmm. So your first question, and I like the simplicity here of what are the most important things for leaders to keep in mind at times like this. We are in very interesting is not even the word moment right now. There's this notion that I think is mistaken, that you need to be taking care as a leader of everyone on your team, and you've got to have all the answers. But I think there is an overlooked step that comes before taking care of everyone else. And you don't have to have all the answers, but, and this is an important but, you do need to step up and communicate in a way that doesn't badly backfire on you and can actually make things worse. So let me explain and just kind of quickly unpack those two ideas. First, the number one thing you need to do is take care of yourself. And let me just state very clearly, taking care of yourself first is not being selfish. Because it's pretty simple. If you don't take care of yourself, or you are a personal disaster, how can you possibly take care of others? Or be able to even present or act in a way that reassures people. And it's like that analogy. We've all ridden airplanes. Hopefully we're going to get back on them soon. But if the airplane's going down, the instructions are very clear. First, put your oxygen mask and life vest on. Then you'll be controlled and you're in a position to help others. We all know this, but so many of the executives and leaders out there, and particularly times like this, aren't doing it. They are not doing it. Second, this point on communicating to others, you need to know as the leader that people are looking to you, and you need to do what the situation calls for. What do we want to see from our leader? And, if you look at the evidence and you look at the research out there, we are drawn to people who we see as leaders who, project or seem to be in control of the situation. In short, they know how to reassure us. This doesn't mean you have to get up and lie, but you might have to act a bit of the part. And make no mistake, leadership is a lot about acting. It's about performance. And your job, and we can talk about different leaders. I think there's some great examples. We go look down in New Zealand. You go look in Atlanta, and fantastic, very powerful speeches that were given earlier this week. But, your job is to ensure people, that you're up for managing and you're going to make it through the crisis. The company, the people, the city can survive. So getting up to speak to others, if you're looking bewildered and worried, saying you have no idea what's coming, that's not terribly reassuring. You might feel that personally, but expressing it so bluntly can backfire. You can acknowledge doubt, that there's uncertainties, but it's part of your job to give a vision of how you're going to get through it. I said, let me just give two quick examples and just summarize it here. But you look at, Jacinda Ardern of New Zealand. Pretty straight talking, empathetic, and even knows how to interject humor. And she delivered a hard message. That the lockdowns in New Zealand were quite draconian. And so she sold an unpopular lockdown program because people believed in her. Mm-hmm. Was she feeling that was absolutely the right thing to do? I think no leader has the answers. But she said it. I wrote down her phrase: stay at home, break the chain, and you will save lives. And on a similar front, I know we're in the middle of the pandemic, but you cannot ignore the national tragedy that has happened. this past week. There are no words to express it. But if you look at the two speeches, I think these are the most powerful ones, and you can send a link to your listeners of rapper Killer Mike and Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms. These were amazing speeches. They were angry, and they channeled anger. They did not, shield that, but they channeled it in an incredibly effective and powerful way. We can talk about that more later, but I think these are two things I want to hold up and get people to think about. So summarize, to your original question, number one, take care of yourself first, or you can't take care of others. Mm-hmm. And number two, realize people are looking to you, and you need to instill in them some vision of the way forward, even if you personally, 100% don't have the answer.
Thank you, Michael. I really appreciate you kind of stepping outside the bounds of what this podcast was originally created for, which was to address the immediacy of what we were all feeling under COVID and to make it directly relevant to how the world has shifted even more into uncharted waters. I think the English language is going to need to invent some new words to kind of account for some of the things that we're all mutually going through.